Chapter 1. The daytime broke. I never believed in fate until the night I saw her, my fiancée, standing face to face with her younger self. At first I thought I was losing my mind. The air shimmered like heat rising from asphalt, and then suddenly she appeared. A younger version of Elena, the girl I loved. She couldn't have been more than 18, wearing the same blue summer dress I'd once seen in an old photo. She looked alive, too alive to be a hallucination. I froze in the doorway, unable to breathe. My future wife, my Elena, was staring into eyes that mirrored her own. And then I heard the words that tore me apart. "You don't love him," the younger Elena whispered, her voice trembling but sure. "He isn't true love." My chest tightened. I wanted to rush forward, to scream, to demand an explanation, but my legs refused to move. Elena shook her head, but her voice cracked. "No, you're wrong. I chose him. He's good for me." "You chose safety," the younger one replied coldly. "That isn't love." Elena's lips parted, but silence slipped out instead of words. She looked down, her fingers twisting together nervously, and in that silence I saw something worse than denial. I saw hesitation. I pressed my hand against the wall to steady myself. My stomach twisted, and I felt as if the ground itself had betrayed me. I wanted her to shout, to prove the younger self wrong, to scream that she loved me with every breath in her body. But she didn't. She faltered. And I saw it. "Elena." My own voice broke as I finally stumbled into the room. Both of them turned toward me. The younger one's eyes widened like she hadn't expected me to hear. My Elena, my future wife, looked pale, almost guilty. I can explain," she stammered, reaching a hand toward me. My chest heaved as I stared at her. "Explain what? That I'm not your true love? That I've been living a lie this whole time?" Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" My voice came out sharper than I intended, slicing through the room. "Because I just heard you deny me to yourself." The younger Elena crossed her arms and muttered, "You heard the truth." "Stop." Elena snapped at her younger self, but it was too late. The words had already sunk deep into me, carving wounds I couldn't ignore. I stepped back, shaking my head. My thoughts scattered like broken glass, sharp and dangerous. Images of our life together flashed before me. Late-night talks, whispered promises, the way she once swore I was the only one she wanted. Were those moments fake? Were they just comfort, safety, a choice made out of fear instead of love? "Elena," I whispered, my voice trembling now, "tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that what I heard wasn't real." She took a step forward, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I love you. I do. Please believe me." "But you hesitated." My words cracked. "I saw you hesitate." Her silence answered me louder than her pleas. The younger Elena turned and slowly faded, dissolving into the air as if time itself swallowed her. I watched her vanish, and the room felt colder. Only Elena remained, shaking, crying, reaching for me, but the damage was done. I pulled back when she tried to touch me. "Don't." My voice was raw, almost unrecognizable. "Don't touch me right now." Her face crumbled as she whispered, "I didn't mean it like that. Please let me explain when you're calmer." But how could I be calm when my heart had just been ripped open? I turned and walked out, ignoring her cries as she followed me down the hall. My legs carried me on their own, fueled by anger, fear, and despair. My chest hurt with every breath, as if the air itself was punishing me for daring to hope I was enough. When I finally reached the empty street outside, I collapsed against the cold wall of a building. My hands shook uncontrollably. I pressed my palms over my face, and for the first time in years, I cried. The words replayed again and again in my mind like a curse. He isn't true love. And the hesitation, the moment her eyes wavered, was sharper than any blade. That night, something inside me broke. I didn't know if it was my faith in her or my faith in myself, but I knew one thing for certain: nothing between us would ever be the same again. Chapter 2. A voice that shouldn't exist. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every second of what I had witnessed. Elena's younger self telling her I wasn't true love. Elena's hesitation, the silence that felt louder than any scream. By morning, I was raw. Half anger, half exhaustion. I couldn't carry it in silence anymore. When Elena entered the kitchen, her hair tied messily, her eyes swollen from crying, I felt my heart clench. She placed a cup of coffee in front of me, her hands trembling. Please, she whispered. Let me explain. I stared at the steam curling upward from the cup. Then explain. My voice was flat, stripped of warmth. She sat across from me, clutching her mug like it was her lifeline. What you saw last night, I don't even understand it myself. I don't know why she appeared. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe it was yours. I slammed my hand on the table. The sound echoed through the quiet kitchen. Don't do that. Don't gaslight me. She was there, Elena. She said I wasn't true love. And you didn't deny it. Her lips quivered. I did. You hesitated. My voice cracked, anger bleeding into pain. I saw it in your eyes. Tears pooled in her lashes. I was shocked, that's all. You've always been good to me. You've always been safe. I love you. The word safe cut into me. I pushed my chair back, shaking my head. Safe? Is that what I am to you? A safe choice. Not love, just comfort. Her silence answered me better than words. Laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. God, Elena, all this time I thought I was your choice because you wanted me, not because I was a shelter when the world got too hard. Before she could answer, the door creaked open. Mira, her best friend, stepped in. She froze at the tension in the room, her eyes darting between us. Am I interrupting? She asked cautiously. Elena quickly wiped her tears. It's nothing, just a disagreement. But Mira looked at me and raised a brow. She wasn't fooled. Elena, I said coldly, tell her what your younger self told you. Go on, let her hear it. Elena's face drained of color. Not now. She said I wasn't true love, I snapped, glaring at Mira, and Elena didn't deny it. Mira's eyes widened, then narrowed as she studied Elena. Is that true? Elena pressed her palms together, shaking. I love him. That's what matters. That's not what I asked, Mira said, her tone sharp. Did you once believe he wasn't the one? Mira, stop, Elena whispered, but her friend didn't. Mira leaned back against the counter, crossing her arms. I knew it. I told you before. You never looked at him the way you looked at him. The words sliced through me. My breath caught. At who? Elena's face burned red, her lips parting, but no words came out. Mira, I growled, my fists clenching. Who the hell are you talking about? Elena had someone, Mira said flatly, ignoring Elena's desperate shake of the head. Someone before you. She thought he was it. Her true love. She told me once she'd never feel that way again. Elena, I whispered, my voice breaking. Is that true? Her eyes glistened with tears. I was young. I made mistakes. But I chose you. Doesn't that mean something? The kitchen spun around me. My chest tightened, each breath heavier than the last. Chose me? Elena, love isn't supposed to be a choice between safety and passion. It's supposed to be both. She reached across the table, her voice cracking. I do love you. Please don't let Mira twist this. But I couldn't shake the image of her hesitation, the way her younger self had looked at her, almost pitying. I pushed my chair back and stood. I can't do this right now. Elena stood too, panic rising in her voice. Please don't walk away. I looked at her, the woman I thought was my forever, and all I saw was doubt. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a blade. You broke something in me last night, and I don't know if it can ever be fixed. Mira didn't speak. Elena sobbed quietly, and I walked out the door, the sound of her cries echoing behind me, each step heavier than the last. Chapter 3. Cracks in the glass. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I wandered the streets until dawn, my thoughts circling the same wound over and over. Elena's hesitation, Mira's words, the possibility that I was never her first choice. My chest ached, but beneath the pain was something else, an obsession to know the truth. By the time I returned, the house was silent. Elena must have cried herself to sleep. I stood outside our bedroom door, my hand hovering over the knob, but I couldn't bring myself to go in. I felt like an intruder in my own home. When morning came, I found Adrian, Elena's younger brother, sitting in the living room, scrolling through his phone. He glanced up when he saw me. You look like hell, he muttered. Thanks, I said dryly, sinking into the chair across from him. He studied me for a moment before sighing. You heard something you weren't supposed to, didn't you? My stomach tightened. What do you mean? He shrugged, but his eyes flickered with caution. Elena's past, it's complicated. She doesn't talk about it because she doesn't want to hurt you. That doesn't make it better, I snapped. Keeping secrets is still lying. Adrian's jaw clenched. It wasn't lying. It was surviving. She made choices she thought were right at the time. My voice cracked. And choosing me was just survival? He looked away, silent. That silence was louder than words. I leaned forward, my fists pressed against my knees. Adrian, tell me the truth. Did she love someone else before me? He hesitated, then whispered, yes. The word punched the air out of me. I slumped back, staring at the ceiling as the ground beneath me crumbled again. Adrian's voice was soft. But he's gone. Out of her life. That's why she chose you. Because you stayed. Because you gave her stability. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. Stability, safety, comfort, everything but love. He frowned. You think love is fireworks and chaos? Real love is about choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. I glared at him. Easy for you to say when you're not the one living a lie. Before he could reply, Elena entered the room, her eyes red and puffy. She froze when she saw us together. What are you two talking about? Nothing, Adrian said quickly, but I stood. No, enough secrets. I pointed at her. Tell me the truth. Who was he? Who was the one you thought was your true love? Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her hands shook as she gripped the back of the couch. I can't. I took a step forward, my voice trembling with rage. Can't or won't. She lowered her head, tears sliding down her cheeks. Please don't make me go back there. Then you admit it. My chest burned, every word ripping out of me. There was someone, and you loved him in a way you'll never love me. She flinched as if I'd struck her. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm with you. Isn't that enough? My hands curled into fists. No, Elena. Being second choice will never be enough. The silence that followed was unbearable. Adrian looked down, refusing to meet my eyes. Elena sobbed quietly, whispering apologies I didn't believe. I turned and stormed out before the weight of it crushed me. Later that day, Mira found me outside a cafe, hunched over a cup of untouched coffee. She slid into the seat across from me without asking. You're digging into things you shouldn't, she said. I glared at her. You started this. You're the one who told me she had someone before me. Her lips curled into a half smirk, half grimace. I didn't tell you everything. My pulse quickened. Then tell me, who was he? She leaned forward, her voice low. His name was Daniel. They were inseparable once. She swore he was her forever. But he left. And when he did, she broke. You came after. You were the one who picked up the pieces. The name felt like poison on my tongue. Daniel. Mira nodded. Don't hate her for it. She did love you. Just differently. Differently, I repeated, the word bitter in my mouth. Like a backup plan. Her eyes softened. Like a second chance. Maybe not the love she thought she wanted, but the love she needed. I shook my head, my chest tight. No, I don't want to be the love she settled for. I want to be the love she couldn't live without. Mira sighed, her expression unreadable. Then you might already know the answer. I stared down at my reflection in the coffee, distorted and broken. For the first time, I wondered if Elena and I had been doomed from the start. If I was always meant to be the glass she leaned on, never the fire she burned for. And the worst part? I couldn't stop loving her, even as the cracks spread deeper. Chapter 4. Shadows of the Past. I couldn't get his name out of my head. Daniel. The man Elena once thought was her forever. The ghost who lingered in every hesitation, every crack in her voice, every time her eyes avoided mine. For days, I wrestled with myself. Part of me wanted to forget, to bury the truth and pretend Elena's past didn't matter. But the other part, the part that had heard her deny me with my own ears, couldn't let it go. I needed to know who he was. One night, after Elena had gone to bed, I sat in the living room with my phone in hand. My fingers shook as I searched his name. It didn't take long to find him. Daniel Hale. Tall, confident, a smile that seemed to belong in glossy magazines. Pictures of him at parties, at business events, always surrounded by people. He looked like the kind of man women fell for without even trying. And he was real, not a ghost, not just a memory. My chest tightened as I scrolled. There was even a picture of him with Elena, taken years ago. Her face glowed, her eyes brighter than I'd ever seen them. That was how she once looked at him, not at me. The thought gutted me. Why are you doing this to yourself? A voice asked. I jumped, nearly dropping my phone. Adrian stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. You shouldn't. Be digging into him, he said firmly. Daniel's in the past for a reason. I glared at him. If that's true, then why does Elena's younger self still call me a lie? Adrian looked pained, because part of her never let go. But that doesn't mean she doesn't love you now. Love me how? My voice cracked. Like a friend? Like a safe harbor? Because I don't see passion in her eyes when she looks at me. Not like she looked at him. Adrian hesitated, then lowered his head. You're right. The admission stung worse than a slap. Tell me everything, I demanded. He sank onto the couch, rubbing his face with his hands. They met when she was 19. He was older, confident, reckless. She fell hard, harder than she ever should have. He made her feel alive, but he also broke her. He left when things got tough. He didn't care who he hurt, and she swore she'd never let herself love like that again. And so she chose me, I muttered bitterly. Adrian met my eyes. She chose differently. You gave her stability. You gave her something real. Real? I laughed, hollow and sharp. How real can it be when her heart still belongs to someone else? Before Adrian could reply, a voice came from behind us. Stop it, Elena whispered, her face pale. She had been listening. She stepped into the room, tears already gathering in her eyes. Yes, I loved him once. Yes, I thought he was everything. But he wasn't. He left. He destroyed me. And when I thought I'd never heal, you came. Her words cracked, breaking into sobs. You were the one who picked me up. You were the one who stayed. That means more than anything Daniel ever gave me. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the memory of her hesitation clawed at me. Then why? I whispered, my throat tight. When your younger self stood in front of you, did you hesitate? Why couldn't you just say I was the one? Her lips trembled. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Because, she admitted softly, a part of me still wonders what would have happened if he hadn't left. The words tore through me like glass. I turned away, gripping my head with both hands. So I'm your second choice. Your backup plan. No, she cried, rushing to me. You're the one I chose. Isn't that enough? But it wasn't. It would never be. Her sobs echoed in the silence as I walked past her, each step heavier than the last. I didn't slam the door behind me. I didn't shout. I just left because the truth weighed too much to carry any longer. And as the night air hit me, cold and sharp, I realized something I had been avoiding all along. Daniel wasn't just her past. He was still here, living inside her hesitation, living inside her silence, living inside the cracks that were now splitting us apart. Chapter 5. The letter she kept the night was long and merciless. I wandered the empty streets until my legs ached, but nothing could quiet the storm inside me. Elena's confession, her what if, echoed in my skull like a curse. By the time I returned home, dawn had already begun to stain the sky. I expected silence, maybe even relief that she was asleep. But instead, the house felt heavy, as though the walls themselves were keeping secrets from me. I went to the study, the one room Elena rarely entered. It was supposed to be mine, my sanctuary. But when I pulled open the desk drawer, my breath caught. Inside was a small wooden box I'd never seen before. I don't know what compelled me, whether it was instinct or desperation, but my hands moved before my conscience could stop them. The lid creaked open, and there they were. Photographs. Elena and Daniel. Smiling, laughing, her face lit with a joy I'd never been able to coax from her. The kind of joy that came from reckless, unguarded love. At the bottom of the box, beneath the photos, was an envelope, yellowed with time. My fingers trembled as I pulled it free. The seal was broken. It had been read, maybe countless times. The handwriting on the front was unmistakably his. To the only girl I ever truly loved. My heart lurched. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to know. But the choice was already made. The letter unfolded in my hands, each word cutting deeper than the last. Elena, I know I've failed you. I know I've hurt you. But if you ever doubt yourself, if you ever wonder what we had, remember this. You were my first and only real love. No one else will ever compare. Not for me, and I dare say, not for you either. Daniel. The page shook in my grip. The words blurred, not from time, but from the hot sting of my own tears. She kept it. All these years she kept it, not just tucked away as a forgotten relic, but preserved, hidden like a sacred treasure. And suddenly, everything made sense. Her hesitation, her wavering gaze, her silence when I needed her assurance most. She didn't keep Daniel in her heart by accident. She kept him there on purpose. "Daniel Hale," I whispered, my voice a hollow rasp. I wanted to rip the letter apart, shred it until it was nothing but dust. But even then, I knew it wouldn't matter. The words were already burned into me. Behind me, a floorboard creaked. "Elena," I said without turning. My voice was sharp, colder than I'd ever heard it. She stood in the doorway, her face pale, her lips parted. Her eyes fell on the box in my hands, and in that instant, everything between us fractured. "You weren't supposed to find that," she whispered. I turned to her slowly, the letter dangling between my fingers like a blade. "You kept it. All these years. Why?" Her hands shook at her sides. Because it was the only proof that once someone loved me that fiercely, that recklessly. I couldn't throw it away. The answer hollowed me out. "So you held on to him, onto this, while you built a life with me." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I chose you, don't you see? I chose you even while a part of me still ached for what I lost. Doesn't that mean something?" My laugh was bitter, broken. "It means I was competing with a ghost I could never outrun." Silence stretched between us, unbearable and raw. Finally, she whispered, "I'm sorry." But sorry wasn't enough. Not when the letter was still warm in my hands. Not when her eyes told me the truth her lips never could. That Daniel had carved his name into her soul, and nothing I did could erase it. I set the box down on the desk with deliberate care, as though it were something poisonous. Then I looked at her one last time and said the words I knew would scar us both. "I don't know if I can forgive this." Her sobs followed me as I walked out of the study, but I didn't turn back. I couldn't, because in that moment I realized something far more terrifying than betrayal itself. Maybe she hadn't chosen me out of love, maybe she had chosen me out of fear. Chapter 6. The man she couldn't forget. I didn't plan the confrontation. Maybe part of me wanted to avoid it forever, to bury the letter and the photographs, and let the silence rot between Elena and me. But the truth has a way of clawing itself out, no matter how deep you try to bury it. And so, a week later, I found myself standing across the street from Daniel Hale. He was waiting outside a cafe, tall and careless, his hands shoved in his coat pockets like the world owed him nothing and everything at the same time. His presence was maddeningly casual, as if he hadn't been haunting my marriage for years. He hadn't seen me yet. For a moment, I just stood there, watching him, trying to find in him what Elena had found, trying to see the version of him that had left her so scarred she could never quite heal. But all I saw was a man who didn't deserve the devotion he'd stolen. I crossed the street before I could change my mind. "Daniel," I said, my voice low but sharp enough to cut. His head turned, his brow furrowed at first, then smoothed as recognition sparked. A faint smile tugged at his lips. "You must be her husband." I didn't offer my name. I didn't need to. He knew. "Tell me," I said, "do you think about her when you're alone? Do you picture her face when you close your eyes? Is that why you wrote that letter?" His smile didn't falter. If anything, it deepened. So she kept it. The confirmation hit like a fist to the ribs. My jaw tightened. "You knew she would." Daniel shrugged. Elena was never the kind of woman to let go of something real. Not like that. My fists curled at my sides. "She's my wife now." He tilted his head, studying me like I was some puzzle he'd already solved. "Yes. But you already know, don't you? You were never her first choice." The words burned, but I refused to flinch. "And you were never man enough to stay." That struck something. His eyes darkened, his jaw flexed. For the first time, the arrogance cracked. "You don't know what happened between us," he said, his voice low. "Then tell me," I snapped. "Tell me why she still clings to your ghost, while I'm the one holding her every night." He looked away, out toward the street, as though the answer were written somewhere in the crowd. Because some things don't die, no matter how much you want them to. I hated the way his words sounded true. "Stay away from her," I said. "If you care about her even a fraction as much as you claim, don't come near her again." He turned back to me, a flicker of something unreadable in his gaze. "And if she comes to me?" The question was a knife. I forced my voice steady. though it shook in my chest. Then you'll see what I'm capable of. For a long moment, we stared at each other, two men bound by the same woman, divided by time and choices neither of us could undo. Then Daniel smirked again, though it didn't reach his eyes this time. "She deserves to be loved without doubt," he said softly. "Can you give her that? Or will you keep digging until there's nothing left of her to love?" I wanted to strike him, to silence that smug certainty, but I didn't. I turned on my heel and walked away, the weight of his words dragging behind me like chains. When I got home, Elena was waiting. She stood in the living room, her hands clasped together, eyes wide with worry. "You saw him," she whispered. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Tears filled her eyes. "What did he say?" I looked at her for a long time, searching for something. Truth, remorse, love, anything that could anchor me. But all I saw was fear. Finally I said, "He asked me if you'd come to him." I didn't have an answer. She shook her head violently, rushing toward me. No, I wouldn't. I chose you. I've always chosen you." But the memory of that letter, of her hesitation, of Daniel's words, they all whispered the same poisonous doubt, and for the first time, I wondered if her choice had been enough. Chapter 7. Every word felt like a lie. The days after my meeting with Daniel blurred into one long stretch of unease. Elena hovered around me more than ever, her eyes following me, her voice soft, almost pleading. She brought me coffee in the mornings, dinner in the evenings, even sat beside me in silence when I buried myself in work. Anyone else might have seen devotion. I saw desperation. One night, as she set down a tray of tea, I asked, "Why now? Why are you suddenly trying so hard?" Her hands froze. "Because I see you slipping away from me, and I can't lose you. Not like this." I searched her face, wanting to believe her, but every word seemed rehearsed, every gesture too careful. "Or maybe you're afraid of losing the life you built with me." "Not me." Her eyes widened, glassy with hurt. "That's not fair. Neither is keeping his letter." I shot back. The air between us cracked, thick with the fight we were both too tired to start, but too broken to avoid. She sat across from me, her voice trembling. "You think I don't wake up every night terrified that you'll never forgive me, that everything we've built will crumble because I was too weak to throw away a piece of paper?" I swallowed hard. Her words cut, but instead of healing me, they left me raw. So, it was weakness, not love. Elena's silence stretched, and in that silence, I heard my answer. I stood, pacing the room. The floor creaked under my steps, loud in the quiet. My thoughts raced, dragging me into darker places. "Tell me something, Elena," I said, my voice low. "If Daniel called you right now, if he begged you to meet him, would you go?" Her face paled. "No, I wouldn't." But her hesitation before the word "no" lodged itself into my chest like a splinter. I let out a bitter laugh. "You're quick to say what I want to hear, but I've started hearing what you don't say." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Please, stop. Don't do this to us. Don't make ghosts where there are none." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her clutching that letter. I saw Daniel's smirk, his words echoing. You were never her first choice. That night, I barely slept. Elena's breathing beside me was steady, but my mind gnawed at me like a starving animal. Every touch of her hand, every glance of her eyes. Was it love, or was it guilt? The next morning, I found myself standing by the study window, staring at the wooden box I had returned to the desk. It sat there, unassuming, but heavy with meaning. Elena appeared in the doorway watching me. Her voice was quiet, almost broken. "Do you want me to burn it?" I turned to her slowly. "Would you?" Her lips trembled. "If it means saving us, yes." "Then do it," I said. She stepped into the room, picked up the box, and carried it to the fireplace. I followed her, my chest tight. She opened the box, pulled out the photographs and the letter, and stared at them one last time. Her hands shook violently. "Elena," I whispered, "don't think. Just do it." Her eyes flicked to me, then back to the letter, and then hesitation. A pause so small, so fleeting, but enough to rip me apart. Finally, she dropped them into the flames. The fire swallowed the photographs, curled the letter into ash. Elena stood rigid, her arms crossed over her chest, as if she were trying to hold herself together. I wanted to feel relief. I wanted the weight to lift, but instead, all I saw was the moment of hesitation, the proof that even as she let him go, part of her still clung to him. When the last ember died, she turned to me with tear-streaked cheeks. "It's over now. Please believe me." I stared at her, my voice hollow. "It should be enough, but I don't know if it is." The look on her face broke something in me, because in her eyes I didn't see anger or defiance. I saw fear, fear that no matter what she burned, I would never see her the same again. And she was right. Chapter 8. The collision I couldn't escape. The fire should have ended it. The ashes in the fireplace should have been enough proof, a clean break from the past. But the truth doesn't die that easily. It lingers, clings, waits for the right moment to claw its way back. That moment came 3 nights later. Elena was restless, pacing the living room while I sat in silence. She wrung her hands until her knuckles turned white, her eyes darting to the window as if she were waiting for something or someone. Finally, I asked, "Who are you expecting?" She froze. "No one." The lie was too quick, too sharp. My chest tightened. Before I could press further, headlights cut across the curtains. A car door slammed. Footsteps approached the porch. I already knew who it was. When the knock came, Elena flinched. Her lips parted, but no words came. I rose slowly, my pulse pounding in my ears. I opened the door, and there he was. Daniel Hale. He looked the same as before, confident, unshaken, but there was something different in his eyes this time, something heavier. "Can I come in?" he asked. "No," I said flatly. Elena's voice broke from behind me. "Daniel, why are you here?" I turned, stunned. The way she said his name, soft, familiar, cut deeper than any blade. Daniel's gaze shifted past me to her. "Because you deserve the truth. Both of you do." I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. "Say what you came to say, and leave." He studied me, his jaw tight. "You think I'm the enemy?" Maybe I was. But Elena deserves more than living in your shadow of doubt. She'll never heal if you keep punishing her for loving me once. My fists clenched. "She didn't just love you once. She still does." He shook his head. "No, she loved me, yes, but she chose you. And if you can't trust that, then you'll be the one who ruins her, not me." The words struck like a hammer. My anger flared, but underneath it was something worse. Fear. From inside, the door creaked open. Elena stood there, tears streaking her cheeks. She looked between us like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. "Stop," she begged. "Both of you, I can't do this anymore." Her voice cracked, raw with exhaustion. "I burned everything. I let him go. But no matter what I do, you won't believe me. And no matter what he says, he won't let me forget. I'm drowning between the two of you." I stared at her, at the broken woman standing before us. This wasn't the Elena who had once made me believe in forever. This was someone hollowed out by 2 men pulling her in opposite directions. Daniel's face softened. For the first time, his arrogance slipped. "Elena." But she shook her head violently. "No, I don't want to hear it. From either of you." Her hands covered her face as sobs tore through her. I stepped toward her, instinct screaming to hold her, to promise her it would be okay. But my feet froze, because deep down, I didn't know if it would. Daniel let out a long breath, his voice low. "You need to decide, Elena, not for me, not for him. For yourself." She lowered her hands, her eyes red and swollen, and for the first time, I saw it. The truth she had been hiding all along. She didn't know what she wanted. Silence pressed in, suffocating. Finally, Daniel turned to leave. His footsteps echoed down the porch, fading into the night. But his words lingered, lodged in my chest, like splinters. "You'll be the one who ruins her." When the door shut, Elena and I stood in the wreckage of everything unsaid. The fire was gone, the ashes cold, but the flames still burned inside us, and I realized, with a hollow ache, that sometimes betrayal isn't a single act. Sometimes it's the slow unraveling of trust, one hesitation at a time. Chapter 9. The Breaking Point. The night after Daniel left, silence hung in the house like smoke. Elena sat at the edge of the bed, her shoulders slumped, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were pale. I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, every breath heavy with words I couldn't bring myself to say. Finally, she whispered, "Do you hate me?" The question sliced through the dark. I turned my head, meeting her trembling gaze. "I don't know," I admitted. "All I know is I don't trust you. Not anymore." Her lips parted, her eyes filling. I've given you everything. My years, my loyalty, my life. Not your heart, I cut in sharper than I meant to. That you left with him. Her face crumpled. That's not true. I chose you. Doesn't that mean anything? I sat up, the anger boiling over. You keep saying that like it's enough. But you hesitated, Elena. You hesitated when you looked me in the eye and swore I was your true love. You hesitated when you burned that letter, and I saw it. I saw the part of you that still belongs to him. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I don't know how to make you believe me. The sound of her breaking should have softened me. Instead, it hollowed me out. I got out of bed, pacing the room. My chest felt like it was splitting open. Maybe there's nothing you can do. Maybe the problem isn't you, Elena. Maybe it's me. I can't live knowing I'll always be second in your heart. Her sobs quieted. When she lowered her hands, her expression had shifted. The tears were still there, but behind them was something harder, resignation. So what are you saying? She whispered. I turned to her, and for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. I'm saying maybe we were doomed the moment he wrote that letter. Maybe we built our life on a foundation that was never strong enough to hold us. Her voice shook, but she didn't look. Away. And you'd throw it all away? Our years, our memories, our vows. I swallowed, my throat burning. I don't know what else to do. She stood slowly, her hands curling into fists at her sides. No, don't you dare put this all on me. Yes, I hesitated. Yes, I held on too long. But I was here. Every day, I was here. And you... She jabbed her finger at me, her voice rising. You've been tearing us apart because you'd rather believe a ghost than your own wife. Her words struck hard, but instead of soothing me, they twisted deeper. And maybe you'd rather believe in a ghost than the man standing in front of you. The fight left the room scorched. We stood there, two people who had once sworn to love each other forever, now nothing more than enemies trapped in the same house. Finally, Elena's shoulders sagged. She whispered, Then maybe we shouldn't keep pretending. The floor seemed to drop beneath me. What are you saying? Her tears slipped again, but her voice was steady. I'm saying maybe it's time we stop fighting to save something that's already dead. I wanted to scream, to deny it, to cling to the fragments of what we once were. But deep down, I knew she was right. Silence stretched, heavy and final. I walked to the window, staring out at the night. The reflection in the glass showed a man I barely recognized, broken, bitter, hollowed out by love turned poison. When I turned back, Elena was already at the door. She looked at me one last time, her eyes swollen but resolute. I loved you in my own way. But maybe that was never enough. The door closed softly behind her, and the house collapsed into silence. And in that silence, I realized the truth I had been avoiding all along. Sometimes love doesn't end with betrayal or anger. Sometimes it ends with nothing left to give. Chapter 10. Ashes of what remained. The days after Elena left stretched on like an endless winter. The house was silent, stripped of her voice, her laughter, even the sound of her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I thought I would feel anger, or maybe even relief. Instead, all I felt was absence, an emptiness so heavy it pressed into every corner of my life. I moved through the rooms like a ghost, touching the spaces where she once stood, tracing the outlines of memories I could no longer hold. The bed was too large without her, the kitchen too quiet. Even the study, once my refuge, had become unbearable, the desk still scarred from the night I found the letter. And yet, in that silence, I began to see the truth. It wasn't Daniel who destroyed us. It wasn't even Elena's hesitation. It was me. I had let doubt eat me alive. I had clung to every pause, every glance, every ghost of a word she never said. I had turned love into interrogation, marriage into trial. And no one can live under a spotlight that harsh, not forever. Still, the bitterness clung to me, because no matter how much I blamed myself, I couldn't forget the letter. I couldn't forget the way she said his name. I couldn't forget the truth she never gave me, whether she loved me more or him. Weeks passed before I saw Daniel again. I hadn't planned it. Life just has a cruel way of forcing collisions when you least expect them. I was leaving the grocery store when I spotted him across the street. His posture was different now, less certain, less sharp. He looked smaller. At first, I wanted to turn away, But then I saw the bandage around his wrist, the hollow look in his eyes, and I knew. Karma had found him. I didn't know the details. I didn't ask. But the rumors had been circling for days. Daniel Hale, the man who once seemed untouchable, had lost his job after a scandal at work. His fiancée had left him. His debts had piled up. The golden boy had crumbled. For a moment, I stood frozen on the sidewalk watching him. Part of me wanted to cross the street, to tell him this was what he deserved, that every choice eventually came home to roost. But I didn't move, because the truth was, I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel victory. I felt tired. Karma had done what I couldn't, and it hadn't healed me. It hadn't brought Elena back. It hadn't made the emptiness any less suffocating. That night, I sat alone in the study, staring at the fireplace. The ashes from the letter were long gone, but I could still picture the flames. The way she hesitated before letting go. The way her hands shook, and I realized that fire hadn't just consumed a letter, it had consumed us. I poured myself a glass of whiskey and let the silence settle. My reflection in the window looked older, wearier, a man carved out by loss. For the first time, I whispered the truth aloud. I loved her, and maybe that was never enough. The words hung in the air, final and unyielding. I don't know what comes next. Maybe time dulls the edges. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe Elena finds peace, and maybe I learn how to live without the weight of ghosts. But one thing I know for certain, love doesn't always end in fire and fury. Sometimes it ends in ashes, quiet, cold, and irreversible. And those ashes are all that remain of us.